welcome. Sorry I'm late. Oh God. Hello everyone. Welcome to this wonderful not happy hour. This isn't a happy hour, but this is a nice divine conversation, yeah? Andrea, how did your move go? How was that? Hey, what's up, everybody? So sorry I'm late. I should have wear that shirt. Sorry I'm late. My unicorn was sitting on me. Instead, we're extra like guac today. Hello. So welcome. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for being here. Hey Yanira, I'm gonna give this a few minutes for people to get in on the session, and then we are going to commence our conversation. Yes? Thank you for being here. If you are tuning in after the live session has actually happened, you can find timestamps down below of when we started, the actual conversation to when we start. I am going to pull some cards, and then the third section will be your questions, or the questions for those of you that are here. Hey Trista, the questions for those of you that are here in the live session. Yes? Okay, let you go ahead, grab your journal. Excellent. Cheers to you all. I may end up grabbing myself a glass of wine myself because it's 4 p.m. for me, depending on where we get to, how late this goes. I may join you in a glass of wine. Yeah? Okay, excellent. So, hi guys, happy Friday. How is everybody feeling on this beautiful Friday afternoon? We are about halfway through January here. If you can believe it. No, I need you to go out. There we go. Oh, you're okay. Well, all right. Well, as soon as you get out of work, Zephyr, grab yourself some libations. Yes. Malta is beautiful. Excellent. Well, I'm glad you guys made it there safely. I'm glad everything was well. So much. I'm actually very excited to discuss this. I have a whole list of things that I've jotted down here, notes to help guide us through this session here. So I just want to give it a few more minutes to allow more people to get in on the session here. Okay, Florida girl, excellent. Well, it's good to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Drive safely. I hope you have a safe trip and you make it to your destination well. A nice Cabernet. Excellent. Well, I have some Barefoot Malbec waiting for me. Well, I'm glad Pam was able to take that up, Andrea. Zoodles. Ooh. Zoodles with shrimples. With scramples. I don't even know what I'm having for dinner. I'm either having some leftover cheeseburger macaroni from last night, or maybe I will have some leftover pasta sauce. I have some pasteles in the freezer, actually, that I should probably eat at some point. Moscato with champagne. Excellent. That sounds delicious. 444. Truly lemonades and Riesling. That sounds like a cute combination there, Kelsey. Sounds like a cute combination. Hi, Varouche. Welcome, guys. So I'm just going to give this 5 more minutes, and then we're going to get started in our discussion. But while we wait for more people to get in, I want to explain for those of you that are here what we're going to be doing. So I'm going to just be we're just having a chat here. And actually, of the 3 years that I've been doing this channel, this is actually the first time we've actually had an actual conversation session. I am going to pull some cards a little bit towards the end of the reading, or not reading. This isn't really a reading, but towards the end of the session. And actually, I want to dive into the Dark Mirror Oracle. I do know I want to do that, so we're going to do that. But this is actually the first time in the 3 years of Divine Conversations that we're actually sitting here having like a true conversation. Ember, hi Ember, it's good to see you. Where have you? It's been so long. It's good to see you. Yeah, it's a really interesting deck too, the Dark Mirror Oracle. And I haven't really used it much, so I'm excited to dive into it. But I am going to pull some cards here, true to form, and then there's going to be some time where you guys can ask me some questions of things that maybe weren't clear during the combo. Yeah. So this is exciting. I have stuff in my ear. Ooh, okay, Claudia. Seems to be working out anyway. All right, all right. Let's see. Do I need to turn this light on? Should I turn this light on? Is that too much or is that okay? Off, on. Or is there like barely any difference? Hi, George. Welcome. Barely any difference, huh? Ooh, Coco Van, that sounds delicious. Yeah, there's no difference. Okay, never mind. We'll leave it off then. Coco Van sounds delicious, Ember. Although when I make it, I have to make it without flour. Yeah, I'll just leave it off because it's going to blind me anyway. Hey, Charlotte. I'm glad you made it. So we're going to get started in just a few minutes. I just want to let more people get in. Ooh, excellent, Charlotte. Taking a nice little bath. A salt bath, maybe? I remember when I was in Brooklyn, I had a fantastic tub in that apartment that I lived in Brooklyn, and I would love some Epsom salt baths, man. But now I have the ocean, so kind of can't beat that. Oh, wow, Ember, that sounds fantastic. Delicious. I'm kind of jealous now. I kind of want some. Even better. So, welcome to our first official conversation, yeah? Yeah. Although I will say, Charlotte, that I do miss a hot bath, but that's okay. The sun will warm me up. So, our first official conversation in the 3 years that I've been working with this channel, that's fantastic. So, we're going to talk about shadow work today. Somebody mentioned from the Aquarius reading for the month of January. And someone asked if I was going to talk about actually doing the shadow work, and I said yes. So that's what we're going to talk about today. George. Oh, well, okay, George, no problem. Excellent, George. Well, I'm happy you're here too, honey baby boo boo chow. Like, we all need this shadow work. Danielle, it was you. Excellent. Well, actually, I am glad you're here because you inspired me to do this. So thank you. And I already kind of feel like I want to do more of these already. So I'm going to be asking later on, I'm going to be asking for more topics for us to talk about. Yeah. Okay, so I think we're almost about ready. Yeah, Ember, January is really a great time. The winter, actually, the winter season is a great time for us to really do a good amount of shadow work because, it's no matter where you are in the northern or southern hemisphere, when you hit that winter season, well, the summer southern hemisphere doesn't get much winter, right? It's usually pretty hot. I don't know. Or at least it doesn't get that cold, right? Unless you're like up in the mountains. I don't know. I might be sounding extremely ignorant right now, but for those of us, I know for those of us up in the northern hemisphere, okay, when winter comes around, man, it gets cold and we are stuck in the house and we're pretty isolated in many cases, especially now during all of this lockdown and quarantine and all that stuff. This is actually really a perfect time for us to be doing shadow work. Hey, Michelle. So let's so why don't we go ahead and get started? Yeah. So welcome to our shadow work conversation. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So we're gonna be talking about this, yeah. Um, and I have a bunch of stuff here that I've written down. So let's just get into it here. The first point I have, like the question that most people ask is, what is shadow work? Or a better question, what is your shadow or the shadow? Your shadow is, we'll say, a collective of parts of yourself that have been fragmented, that have been pushed away, that feel like they are not part of you. Your shadow consists of repressed traumas, repressed feelings, past pain, past hurt, past trauma, parts of yourself that you deemed or others have deemed unacceptable, unfavorable, and it can consist of elements of even your past lives. But see, in the journey of self-discovery and in the journey of spiritual expansion and conscious, or if you don't want to call it that, in the journey of the expansion of consciousness, your shadow is actually your greatest ally in terms of everything that you are experiencing and all of the ways that you can learn and grow and expand. Why? Because your shadow contains parts of yourself that need healing, parts of yourself that contain lessons that you can learn from, parts of yourself that need to be integrated, reintegrated, learned of, expanded upon, acknowledged. Okay. Um, so somebody could ask, well, what does your shadow want? Ultimately, your shadow wants to be loved. Your shadow wants acceptance. Your shadow wants to be heard, to be seen. In some cases, and this may sound pretty egoic, but your shadow could also be looking for validation. Because, like I said, your shadow can consist of parts of yourself that have been shunned or pushed away. Take, for example, as a child, and it definitely starts with the family, with your parents, with your siblings, with elders, just the people that are around you early in your life. You come into the world having certain mannerisms or having certain proclivity towards certain actions or certain ways of expressing yourself. And let's say you're a really young, very young child, don't know any better, and you're just being you and doing what it is you do, and somebody in your family, like say a father or a mother or a caregiver, a grandmother, an aunt, an uncle, whatever, doesn't approve of it and reprimands you and shuns you for certain things. Well, I mean, if it were to happen once or twice, I doubt it would be too traumatic, depending on how big of or extreme of a reaction you receive from these individuals. But over time, you could be conditioned into not accepting this part of yourself, or not being accepting, or let's see, what's a better word for this? Not allowing yourself to express yourself in this way. Why? Because others around you have told you no, have shunned you, have beat you down over it, and thus that part of yourself is pushed away and is in essence pushed into what is called your shadow. All right. Case in point, this might be a little bit of a touchy subject, but like homosexuality maybe it's pushed it gets pushed away, it gets shunned, it gets you get taught that that's bad and that's wrong, and then all of a sudden you grow up and all of a sudden you're starting to act in these ways that are just like there's a monster inside you, or and it doesn't have to be just homosexuality, it could be anything, but all of a sudden you grow up years later and now all of a sudden there's this like monster coming out of you, or you start acting or you get triggered in ways that you have no idea what's going on. Well, this is a repressed part of yourself, this is a repressed part of your psyche, of your being, and it seeks validation, it seeks expression, and it will come out in ways that can be way less desirable than if it were just allowed to flourish and be in the beginning, originally. Okay. So what does your shadow feel like then? Well, your shadow feels like anger, resentment, fear, depression, sometimes physical pain even. Your shadow is like when you like say the saying sweeping something under the rug, right? The more you sweep something under the rug, or the more you sweep things under the rug, the bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger that lump is going to be under the rug, until all of a sudden you trip over it because you just can't avoid it anymore. Or like say stuffing things into a closet. You can only stuff so much into a closet before you can't close that door anymore. And maybe you can close the door, but the next time you open it, everything comes flying out because it's all just been stuffed in there. Your shadow consists of all of these repressed things and situations that you just have not dealt with. And the problem with all of that is when it comes to energy, when it comes to parts of yourself, when it comes to parts of your energetic being that are being repressed or denied, it starts to build a negative momentum, and it will just grow and grow and grow, and it will, and the momentum will keep going until now all of a sudden you're losing control over it, and it's starting to take over your life in some extreme cases, or it's seeking expression in ways that are very destructive, very catastrophic. It can end in some cases, it can turn into you alienating yourself or others because of this side of yourself that's been repressed. Okay. So now in this case, somebody may say, oh no, well, that's something that I guess I need to get rid of. Or you push this thing away, of this part of yourself away, because you think you need to get rid of it. But that's not the case. You can't get rid of it. You don't need to get rid of it. Somebody might ask, well, how do I get rid of this then? You don't. Instead, you have to understand that your shadow is you. Your shadow contains parts of yourself that are intrinsically you, and you were born to be the person that you are. There is no part of you that is really needing to be cut out and pushed away. And some of you might think, well, what if this has to do with an addiction? Well, an addiction or any sort of toxicity in your life has an underlying root. There's a root cause for it. If we're talking about addiction, and I'm not a doctor or anything, but like if we're talking about addiction, it comes from something, some sort of coping mechanism, something that you are using to cover over the pain of something. So instead of cutting it out and pushing it away and saying you just need to stop, instead you need to get down to the bottom of it. You need to get down to the root of what it is you're trying to cover up. Okay. I wrote down your shadow is you, and it is parts of yourself that seek reintegration. It is you will never, no matter how hard you try, no matter how much you push it away, no matter how fast you try to run from it, you will always have to face this. Janet Jackson Janet Jackson said it very, very well in The Velvet Rope. Which track was it? It's the very last song, the very last track of that album. And in it, she says, you can't run away from your pain because no matter where you run, there you will be. So, in other words, you can't run away from that which is you. You can't run away from that which seeks integration or reintegration with yourself. The more you run, the more you'll just the longer, actually, the more you run, the longer you delay the inevitable. And what's the inevitable? Having to actually face whatever it is that you are running from. And in this case, yes, this can span lifetimes. Individuals, especially in the past, before we got to this point in human history where self-help and spiritual enlightenment and spiritual growth and all that stuff, before it became so popular, and even to this day people still do it, but people spend their whole lifetimes running away from elements and aspects of themselves. In some cases, they spend their lifetime running away from the very thing that they incarnated in this lifetime to face, deal with, and heal. And if you don't do it in this lifetime, you're going to have to do it at some time. If it's not now, then in the future. You cannot escape these things, which is why it's best to, if something comes up, to heal it, to deal with it, to do whatever it is you need to do, to go through whatever process you need to go through to heal these things, right? Your shadow can also be represented by triggers. And triggers are a huge, I'm going to be honest, and well, not that I'm not honest with you guys, but I'm going to be real with you about this. And this might be an unpopular opinion, but a trigger is actually one of your greatest allies, because a trigger shows you an element of your life or an element to yourself and maybe even your psyche or your emotional body that needs healing. You are triggered by something because it is a wound. It is something that, you know, it's a trauma that you may have experienced in the past that needs to be healed. Your triggers, if you look at them at the right way and or in the right light, and you approach them in the right way, your triggers can be your greatest allies in your process of self-awareness and healing. Okay? Your like triggers are, and that's why I used to say, when I started getting really comfortable with my triggers, it's like, look, I may trigger somebody here, and I'm sorry, but also I'm not sorry. Like, I'm not out to just trigger everybody, like be trigger happy here, but if I am triggering you, that's a good thing. And no, I'm not going to apologize for it, because ultimately I have just given you, or whatever it is that I've done or said that has triggered you, has given you an express view into something that needs to be healed. Okay? So yes, I understand triggers are hard to deal with. They're extremely hard to handle sometimes, but ultimately over time, and no, you don't have to heal a trigger right away. In some cases, that's not even possible. Sometimes you need to just take the time that it needs to deal with. Sometimes you need to be triggered by something multiple times for it to really be healed. But honestly, don't run away from your pain, and don't run away from your triggers, because those help you heal to the maximum. Yes, the lovebirds agree. Okay, so what do we think so far? Does anybody have any questions so far? I think I actually want to take questions now, and then we'll pull some cards later. But what do you guys think? How do you feel? I hope that I'm seeing in the chat, in the comments, that this is helping you guys. So good. Excellent. I'm glad this is helping. So what do you guys think? Do you have any questions? How do you heal these triggers in relationships? Well, first of all, the first thing that comes to mind is that you need to understand that a relationship is a two-way street. Okay, excellent. I'm seeing some really good questions here. So let's start with this. How do you heal these triggers in a relationship? Well, first and foremost, a relationship is a two-way street. So if you're in a partnership with someone, whether this is a friendship, a family situation, or even a romantic situation, You're not going to be able to heal the trigger or heal the situation between the two of you unless both of you are willing to do the work. However, if you find yourself in a situation where the other person is not willing to do the work, the other person is not willing to see eye to eye, the other person is not even willing to maybe take some sort of responsibility for their role in the relationship, that does not mean that you are trapped in this cycle, because you can heal this situation on your own. It doesn't necessarily have to involve the other person, because quite frankly, the other person is the only person, well, the individual can only heal the self. Nobody can really heal another person. Healers are out here helping to facilitate healing for another person, but ultimately that other person has to take some sort of responsibility for the healing on their own. So that's really the only answer I can give you on that one, without knowing the specifics of the situation. But other than that, what you can do is look at the situation, see it objectively, look at what is triggering you about the situation, and then work on deciphering how you can heal, or how you can uh, how you can heal the situation towards any given certain circumstance, any specific circumstance. I feel like I would need more specifics on that one, animal love space. But in relationships, you have to understand that they are a two-way street. And actually, I really do feel like that's a big part of the healing process of a relationship to begin with, okay? And if the other person is not willing to do the work to maintain the relationship between the two of you, because it's a two-way street, then that's when you decide that this needs to be, that's when you need to decide whether or not this is a beneficial relationship for you to be in at all, okay? What are my thoughts on unconditional love and respect? Unconditional love and respect, I feel like go hand in hand. I don't think you can have unconditional love for someone without having respect for that individual. Take, for example, say you're in a romantic situation with somebody. We'll say the twin flame situation, right? And the external individual that represents your divine counterpart is doing things or is living a life that is less than desirable, or is keeping you guys from coming into union. Unconditional love says that you love this person enough, and you have enough respect for this person to recognize where they are in their life, in their sense of awakening, or on their journey as a being, as a spiritual being, having a physical experience. And you recognize that where they are in their life means that you kind of can't really tangle with them, because you're not trying to get in with that. You don't want to deal with that. Unconditional love says that you still have love for this person. You still love this person. You still respect this person, but you respect and love them enough to let them do what it is they need to do. Let them go in their direction. Let them be who they are in any given moment, and still have love and respect for them. But then you also have respect for yourself in saying, you know what, I'm not trying to do that, but I'm not going to sit here and dog you because you're not doing what I want you to do. I still love you. And unconditional love says, I will love you no matter what. Okay? Even if that means that we can't be together. Even if that means that if you're, or not in a twin flame situation, but unconditional love says, I love you, but you have a desire to be somewhere else, or you have a desire to do something else with your life, or you have a desire to, or you have a need to be with a different person. You can't be with me, so that's okay. I love and respect you enough. I still have unconditional love for you, so I will release you and let you go and do whatever it is you feel you need to do for yourself. That's what I feel unconditional love is. And I think unconditional love and respect go hand in hand. I don't think you can have respect for someone without I don't think you can have unconditional love for someone without having respect for them. Okay. Okay, Danielle says, how do you integrate easily? Um, I don't think there is always such a thing as integrating easily. Again, this is a situation that is pretty dependent on the specifics of what it is you're trying to integrate. In some situations, in some cases, integration is easy because the energies have some sort of affinity towards each other. Okay, I have two analogies here. One is alchemical transmutation, or like the temperance card. Temperance or a transmutation, like the temperance card is an angel or a figure balancing two different substances and making them into one. Depending on the, let's get scientific on it. Depending on the alchemical makeup of the situation or of these compounds that you're trying to fuse together, in some cases it'll just fuse together real easily. In some cases it's combustible, right? So the situation is really rough and destructive even in this process of integration. So you just have to ride it out. Let's look at it this way. Think about musical notes, right? You have a triad, which is three musical notes of different points within the octave that either come together and sound great, they harmonize, or they come together and they don't sound great, they're dissonant. If a situation is really rough and you're really having to integrate some really not so agreeable parts or elements, it's not going to be easy. And in some cases, maybe if it's really that difficult to integrate them, maybe they shouldn't be integrated. Maybe you should look at the elements that you're trying to integrate and figure and try and understand them better individually to understand whether they even need to be integrated or not. Does that make sense, Danielle? Yes. Okay. Excellent. Erica, this is going to be saved. This is definitely going to be available later on for you to watch this. Charlotte, you're asking about boundaries. Well, what do you mean? Be a little bit more specific. What are you looking for in terms of boundaries? Um, Animal Love Space is saying, can you ever fully heal, or do you learn to deal with shadow and triggers in a better manner? Um, I do think you can fully heal. However, I kind of feel like when you fully heal is more akin to leaving the third dimensional reality and like basically ascending to higher forms of conscious awareness. So then to fourth, fifth, sixth, blah blah blah, and all that stuff. In terms of, I think, because I kind of feel like this question is also kind of saying, will you ever be, or will someone ever be complete? And first, what you need to understand is we are whole and complete beings already. The paradox in terms of that is the reason for existence and the reason for experience is source, the one source that we all come from, is in the process of having all of these different experiences in order to experience itself, to learn more about itself, and to experience. So in terms of will you ever fully heal? I mean, yes, but I think the other question that's underlying here is, will you ever stop experiencing? Will you ever stop having experiences? Will you ever stop running into situations in which, you are not no longer learning or no longer expanding? Because that's kind of also what I feel like healing is. You're bringing consciousness to places of parts of yourself that are unconscious. You are expanding in new ways and learning about yourself. In that case, you're never going to stop doing that until you completely fully integrate back with source, if that makes sense. How do you love yourself more? So this is in terms of boundaries. And then Yanira, I did see your, hi Cami, I did see your question. So I'll get to that in a second. But Charlotte, so in terms of boundaries, when it comes to accepting things, well, okay, so then Charlotte, for you specifically, if you're afraid of love, but you want more of it, the first thing for you to do is start loving yourself. And that's going to get uncomfortable. Like start doing so when it comes to love or when it comes to certain people treating you in a certain way that makes you uncomfortable, the best thing for you to do is start doing that for yourself so that you can become comfortable. Well, yeah, that's see, but that's also Charlotte, that's also ego and approval, right? Your ego seeks external approval or external validation. When instead of looking for external validation, another way that you can work on loving yourself and healing this shadow aspect of yourself is validating your own self. If you are happy, if you are content, if you know you're doing something that's in alignment with you, a great way to practice loving yourself is not allowing yourself to require or look for approval from anybody else. Well, see, then you need to work on practicing being okay with who you truly are instead of allowing others to validate that for yourself, for you. You validate that. And if you are rejected, then let yourself be rejected. And that rejection, what you need to understand is that rejection, Charlotte, has nothing to do with anybody else. Or I'm sorry, has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the people that are rejecting you. That's their problem. That doesn't make you any less of a person. That doesn't make you any less of a beautiful individual. That doesn't make you any less of a wonderful person just as you are. That has everything to do with them. And also, don't worry if you're coming in late. This is here. This is going to stay on the channel, so you guys will be able to watch this later, okay? All right, so Yanira, you're asking, can we touch on poverty consciousness and codependency within the shadow? Yes. So first thing that I'm getting in terms of poverty consciousness, lack mentality, and codependency within the shadow, I feel like that's ancestral. And I feel like that is very much a collective human thing. It's very much the energy and the essence of what the matrix is built upon. We have been conditioned to want or need security because we have been taught time and time again over centuries of conditioning that we are not able to sustain ourselves. We are not able to survive without big brother or big government or religion or things like that to give us that security. The energies of lack mentality and codependency are so deeply rooted into the human psyche, into our subconscious, and that's all in an effort to keep us under control. And it's also childhood. Okay, what do you mean by childhood? I mean, we are in a time in human history right now where it is so apparent, or at least it's becoming apparent, that we no longer can survive by just relying on those in power, even our elected officials, to look out for our best interests, because it's quite obvious that they don't. right? The current system doesn't work on behalf of the little people. The current system doesn't work on behalf of the average person. The current system benefits those in power and those with money and status. Now, Yanira, you're saying you always felt like this type of thinking is rooted in childhood. Well, think about it this way. I completely agree. We are taught from a very young age. We are indoctrinated from a very young age that we need to rely on the system, that we need to, in some extreme religious cultures, we can't rely on our personal connection with God source creator. We have to rely on those that are in power, or those that are of the clergy, or those that are of the church and all that, to connect with God source creator. We are effectively cut from our source, our connection to source, our connection to abundance from the very beginning, from the moment, not even from the moment that we pop out of the womb, but while we're still in the womb, because we are starting, even when we're a fetus growing in our mother's wombs, we are starting to be indoctrinated. We are starting to receive programming from our mothers, from our families, and then when we are born, it's even more so. So you spend about 18 years of your life being programmed, only to leave the nest and now have to spend about the next 18, maybe to, I don't know, less than or so about 18 years deprogramming that, so that you can reconnect with source, so that you can reconnect with yourself. Okay? And yes, this is, in terms of society, this is done on purpose, so that we don't rebel, so that we don't step out on our own, so that we don't believe we can survive without the system, without the matrix, without those in power that want to stay in power, that want to keep us under their thumb. Yeah. Yeah. Claudia, I need more wine. Ooh, thank you for that super chat, Claudia. Thank you so very much. I greatly appreciate you. I appreciate you all. Thank you guys so much for being here. Yeah. Okay, so I think at this point, we do, and it's not, and here's the thing. I don't want to make it seem like we're all supposed to be this individual in like in this individual space, every man for themselves, like every man, woman, and child for themselves, like we're not meant to work together. We are meant to work together. We are social beings. We are one. We are the collective. We are parts of the same whole, okay? But what we need to understand is, while there is strength in numbers, yes, we all still have a connection to source that allows us as individuals to be sustained. Okay? That's the point. And then from there, when we all come together in this empowered state, we're unstoppable. Right? Then there's really power in numbers, right? All right, let's get into some cards here, kids. What do you think? I think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah? I just want to get some, let me clear this out, get some sage going here. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you are enjoying this session and you haven't done so already, please make sure to smash that like button for me, yeah? We've got 44 people here and only 28 likes. Let's see if we can get it up to 44 likes, yeah? How about that? That sounds like an excellent idea. Hold on. I want to like this a little bit more. But anyway, either way, thank you guys so very much for being here. I really love and appreciate you all. And if you're new and you're not subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, yeah? And I would love to hear Any suggestions that you guys have of some more conversations we can have in the future? Yes, because that would be fantastic. But yes, definitely make sure to smash that like button. And even if you are not watching this while it's live, hit that like button, because that's going to help this message get out to others. It's going to really help with the YouTube algorithm to get this message flowing to more people that need it. Yeah. Because we are, in fact, all in this together, y'all. All right. Cool. So let's get some cards here. I've got the Dark Mirror Oracle. All right. And I just want to get some shadow self messages, some shadow healing. How can we heal and integrate our shadow selves? All right. 5 shuffles, 3 shuffles, 1. So what messages can we bring to the collective right now in terms of healing your shadow side, recognizing your shadow side? What light, any sort of light that we can bring to the situation, to our shadow? Because your shadow is your greatest ally, yeah? Here we go. Shadow messages for the collective. Oh, look at that. Would you look at that, you guys? Card number 27, fragmentation. All right, I want to get 2 more cards here. 2 more cards for the collective in terms of the shadow. Two more cards, please, Spirit, for the collective. What messages do we have in terms of shadow work? Recognizing the shadow, bringing light to shadow elements of our lives. Honestly, ooh, okay. Okay. And 1 more, please. 1 more for the collective. Woo! Just 1 more card. Oh, all right. Well, you know what? We've got 2 more cards, and I'm going to take them. Oh, thank you, Brandy. All right, so we have 4 cards here. But I think, oh, Varush, thank you so very much for that super chat. Excellent, excellent. Thank you so very much. Okay, so I wanted to get 3 cards, but we have 4. And the reason I think we have 4 is because of this. This is like the overall theme here. Card number 17, forgetting oneself. And that's like, I mean, that couldn't be any more perfect. That's like the essence of your shadow to begin with. You have forgotten yourself in some way. You have neglected yourself in some way. There is something about you that seeks reintegration, that seeks healing, that seeks validity, that seeks being heard or being recognized. Yes? Let's read that. Oh, wait. Oh, right. Okay. Forgetting oneself. A naked young man whose curly brown hair are intertwined by a gold laurel crown. Half a golden mask protects his eyes while the sky around him breaks, ripped to the shape of a mistletoe branch. So, the sentence here is, eating the lotus flower, numbing our identity to go by the sound of a music that was never ours. Going dark. A modern Adonis, an ancient Hermes, a grown-up Cupid shrined by laurel, myrrh, and lotus. He is the welcoming allure of the present moment, the warm embrace which numbs everything else, like Bacchus's wet kiss. If you let go of the pressure and pain, if you let go enough of your identity and of the context you live in, then you will just feel better. It is what happens when you fall asleep, when you take refuge in the arms of a loved one, or when you watch a movie slumped ungraciously on a comfy couch. Sometimes, however, it asks for more. It takes more out of you, more of yourself to be forgotten, to feel just a little better. And maybe the twisted idea that if you forget everything, then you will actually really feel better. Forgetting everything, letting everything go, not just as a moment of rest, but as a jump in the dark. It is like vertigo. You stand on the edge of the precipice, and a little part of you wants to jump, but it is just a moment of rest, a moment of pause, a moment of uncreative selfishness. So what? Let it be and sleep soundly. But see, that's the problem. You're sleeping. Instead of allowing yourself to be awake and alive, you're allowing yourself to be forgotten. You're allowing yourself to slip away into something that was never you to begin with, or never meant to be you to begin with. And thus, these parts of yourself get pushed away into the shadows, and you become fragmented. Now, what's fragmentation? Fragmentation is when like a little energetic piece of yourself breaks off and either is removed from yourself altogether and stays in a certain time space continuum, energy, whatever, that helped or caused the fragmentation to happen, or it just sits there floating around waiting to be reintegrated. So what do you do when you are fragmented? I recommend the Violet Flame meditation. And many of you have heard me talk about this before. But this was something that I did right before I went through my massive awakening. I would do the Violet Flame meditation where I would breathe in violet flame energy from the earth through my root chakra all the way up through my body and all throughout my body, burning away all that no longer served me, all that was not part of who I am or my essence, and clearing space for me to then call back these fragmented pieces of myself. So I called this my defragmenting process. So I would do the violet flame meditation and be very careful with that meditation because it is very, very powerful. Make sure you are grounded for that. And you can find it anywhere on, just like search on YouTube. I'm sure you can find a really good one. And then once you have sufficiently gone through that meditation, consciously call back all parts of yourself that have been fragmented and have been lost to situations, circumstances, whatnot, whatever. Okay. Next, you have Naked Before the Stars. And Naked Before the Stars is talking about bearing your true self, being who you truly are, allowing yourself to be, in essence, naked, loving your naked form, loving the truth of yourself, your being, your honesty, your integrity, your authenticity, right? Finally, here we have I Won't Cry for You. Rejection, feeling not feeling heard. I'm almost getting, you know what I'm getting with this card? I'm getting a sense of someone being so, what's the word I'm looking for? So uncaring. Like saying, you see this? This is the smallest violin in the world playing a song just for you. Have you ever heard that phrase before? Lack of compassion, lack of empathy. And in some cases, when it comes to the fragmentation of yourself, or when it comes to your shadow side, there's an energy of you looking upon that part of yourself and kind of treating your own self that way. Because like I said, your shadow contains elements of yourself that just want to be seen, just want to be heard, are seeking validation. And in some cases, we look at ourselves in these ways and think, ugh, I'm not going to cry for you. Well, why not? Because these parts of yourself have been deemed unacceptable, have been deemed toxic, have been deemed wrong or bad, or you're going to go to hell for this, or this, that, and the third. And thus you get this sense of not loving yourself, not accepting yourself. And that's heartbreaking. That's absolutely heartbreaking. Why treat yourself that way? But you see, we're able to look at it this way now because we are in the process of learning what unconditional love truly is. Unconditional love is just that, without condition. Show up as you are. You are still worthy and deserving of unconditional love, right? Of course you are. Because you are of source, you are of God, you are of God's source creator. You were born, you were created to be who you are and to not forget any parts of yourself. This is amazing, you guys. I want to close this out. I'm going to close out this session with some closing guidance from the tarot here. 5 shuffles. 1. Thank you all so very much for being here with me for this past hour. Wow. 2. Three. Exactly, Claudia. Oh, I just saw that. Toxic relationships are a reflection of how our shadow feels and where healing is needed. Yes. Ding, ding, ding. Tell her what she's won. 4. Ah, okay. All right, Ember. I totally see that too. This is 4. Ember is saying, I see not crying for you in a different way. Alongside fragmenting, when we pour too much of ourselves into a toxic relationship, fragmented, and come back for it, not crying for you anymore. Excellent. See, but that's a healed perspective, right? That's definitely, I would say, a healed perspective. Yes. This is 5. All right. So closing message for the kids here in terms of shadow work. Yes? Closing message. Whoa. Wow. This is epic. You can't make this shit up, you guys. At the bottom of the deck is the 8 of Swords. This is the essence of shadow work right here. Or the essence of shadow work. Why? Because shadow work is doing none other than going within, the hermit, facing yourself and breaking yourself free from the mental or even emotional entrapment of the 8 of Swords. There is no amount of 4 of Cups. There's no amount of escapism that's truly going to free you from this torment of the shadow. Instead, you need to go within. You need to have the compassion and the emotional maturity, or at least develop the compassion and the emotional maturity, King of Cups, to do the consistent hard work, 8 of Pentacles. Show yourself this compassion, this empathy, this understanding, but maturity. Because it's more than just going within and pouring love to your shadow self. It also takes a level of maturity to be able to be honest with yourself, to admit to yourself the hard lessons or the harsh reality in some cases. But see, this is not the King of Swords nor the Queen of Swords. This is the King of Cups. This is compassion. This is love. This is empathy. And yet being able to be honest and real with yourself. Being able to go within and weather that storm, King of Cups. But there is no amount of escapism or denial or pushing it away, 4 of Cups, that's going to do it. Instead, it needs consistent, hard work. Sometimes it might be pretty easy, but I'll tell you what, overall, for the most part, shadow work is not easy. And it's never really going to be easy. It may you may get better at dealing with it, but the deeper you go, the more trauma you find, right? Wow, you guys. So I'm going to leave it there. We're an hour into this session. I think we're good. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys. For those of you that are watching after the live stream, and even those that are here for the live stream, if you come up with anything, please share your experiences in the comments and all that stuff. I'm gonna be posting in the community section within the next few days or so. To see what topics we can have a conversation about next, because I'm really loving this. This is really excellent. So I love you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. Oh, that's very true, Michelle. Learning not to take life personally definitely helps. Well, happy Friday to you all. I'm so glad this worked. I'm so glad this was helpful for you. Happy Friday. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I'm sending you all so much love. And I look forward to connecting with you again for our next reading and our next conversation very, very, very soon. Yes? Take care. Bye.